What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Wow. Seahawks take the loss 30-20 to the LA Rams. At home in the playoffs, they've been eliminated. Oh, man. Dang. Man, I'm shoddy. That was horrendous play calling by offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer. I don't even know what he was thinking. Calling some of the plays he called. We just were not doing anything really well. Rams played amazing on defense. Props to them. But yeah, man, we just got to play better. We really do. Our offensive line was not communicating well. They were giving up sacks all day. Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd, Sebastian Joseph Day, Michael Brockers, they were just eating us up. Even when Aaron Donald wasn't in the game late, they were still eating us up. And man, it just hurts. It's more disappointing. Russ did not have a good game. Brian Schottenheimer was a horrendous play caller this game, and I honestly think that I think that we really need to look at an option this year. Coaching-wise, I think that right now Ken Norton Jr. has earned his spot back on this team as defensive coordinator. However, I think Brian Schottenheimer should be fired here's my if we have a suitable replacement in place, a guy that we know we can rely on hiring, and a good replacement for Shoddy, then I think we should fire Schottenheimer and go with that guy. But yeah, basically, our defense run stopping was not good. Rams have the number one defense in the league, and it showed. Our offense really, until it was too late, could not do anything. Defense was giving up 30-yard runs left and right, huge catches left and right. Pass rush was not getting there. And yeah, so right now I'm on SpotTrack.com. It's an NFL free agency site. I'm looking at the Seattle Seahawks free agents and looking towards this offseason. I'm just going to go through the list of free agents and talk about guys I think we should bring back and guys we should not. First guy coming up on this list is 32-year-old linebacker KJ Wright. Now, I think KJ Wright has earned a spot back on this team. He's a free agent. I think we definitely need to bring him back. He's played lights out this year, really lifted that linebacker core. Him and Bobby Wagner have been awesome. You can tell their play style is rubbing off on Jordan Brooks. But yeah, I think KJ Wright on a maybe one possibly 2-year deal, but I do think he's definitely worth bringing back. Next up is tight end Greg Olsen. Honestly, I'm not going to spend much time on him. I kind of think he retires and leaves, and yeah. Next up is defensive end Bruce Irvin. Now, Bruce Irvin's very interesting. He was signed last year, got injured pretty early in the year, and the thing is, I almost feel we have enough edge rushers, especially we're going to be gaining one in Darrell Taylor next year. I think Bruce Irvin's mainly a guy that we don't really re-sign in the offseason. However, what we do is maybe if a guy gets injured, God forbid, next season, mid-season, we can bring him in, and he can be pretty reliable. So Bruce Irvin, I'd say don't re-sign him. Next up is Jacob Hollister. Now, Jacob Hollister had an awful game today. However, I do think we should bring him back. He's been a solid tight end, maybe on like a 2-year deal, and yeah, bring him back. Next up is Benson Mayo. Benson Mayo has been a great rotational guy. He's played super solid. I'd bring him back on a 1-year deal. Next up is Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde I'd let walk. Mike Iupati I think will either retire. If he doesn't, I'd let him walk. Cedric Ogigbe has been a solid backup. I'd keep him around. Next up is Quentin Dunbar. No way would I re-sign Quentin Dunbar. Geno Smith up next. I've heard some words of him retiring. I'm like, no, he's only 30. I think we'll keep him around. He's been a solid and serviceable backup for us. We haven't really needed to use him. But yeah. Next up is cornerback Nico Thorpe. He's mainly a special teamer. I'd bring him back. However, I have heard speculation that he might retire because he has been injured. He's had pretty big injuries the last 3 years he's spent on IR. I honestly kind of think he might retire. If he doesn't, we can bring him back. Special teams, extra special teamers never hurt. Next up is center Ethan Posick. Sorry. This is a definite. We have to bring him back. He has been so great on our defensive line, really stepping up at that center position. And yeah, we definitely need to bring him back. Nick Bellore, the fullback, he's a Pro Bowler as a special teamer. We mainly use him for special teams. Let's bring him back. He's played good. Brandon Jackson, I would let walk. I don't want to spend money on him because the last 2 years he's kind of been on IR, not really doing anything. Let's let Brandon Jackson walk. Next up is wide receiver Philip Dorsett. I'd let Philip Dorsett walk. Same with the guy below him, Josh Gordon. We got young guys. Freddie Swain showed a lot of potential, and I think we'd let those two guys walk. Maybe draft another guy in a fourth or fifth round. Next up is Jonathan Bullard. Bullard's been solid. I mean, if we need the depth, sure, bring him back. That's not really a guy I'm focusing on. Demarius Randall's next. It's kind of the same thing as Bullard. If we need the depth, sure, bring him back. Obviously not for that much. But yeah. Okay. Let's see. What's next? Sorry. David Moore. 100%. I'd bring him back. He's been great. Great number 3 receiver. I'd definitely bring him back on a 2, maybe 3-year deal. No, 2. Next up is Shaquille Griffin. Yeah, I'm definitely bringing Shaquille Griffin back. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a choice between Shaq or Chris Carson, in which I'm going to go with Shaq. I think running backs are really common to find, and especially in Seattle's system, they've worked out pretty well. Carlos Hyde, who we saw come in here and do some great stuff. As much as I love Chris Carson, if it's not the right deal, if he doesn't take a little discount to come back, which I sadly don't think he would, I'd rather have a lockdown corner, because those are a lot more rare to find than good running backs. Next up is Lano Hill. Lano Hill played pretty solid. He's one of those guys where if we need the depth, sure, bring him back. Kyle Fuller, I would definitely bring back. He's been a good backup center for us. And yeah. Shaquem Griffin, I'd bring back. Solid edge rusher, solid guy on special teams. And I think he would come back if Shaquille comes back. And yeah. Next up is Brian Monet. Brian Monet has been super solid. I'd definitely bring him back. For the depth, Ryan Neal I'd 100% bring back. He's been spectacular in special teams and for depth. He had a block punt a couple weeks ago. And yeah, next up is Jason Stanley. If we need the depth, bring him back. Not really a big deal. Chris Carson's next. Like I kind of stated before, if he takes a maybe discount to come here, I'd do it. But yeah. Next up is 100% I would re-sign Poona Ford. He has been awesome. He has been the key essential guy for this run defense. He's just amazing. Bring Poona Ford back 100%. And Lyndon Stevens is next. Unless we need the depth, I'd let him go. So yeah, this video is kind of a bit longer than I expected. If we haven't already, please go down below, like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. This next offseason, gonna have a lot of nice content, especially this week, for our offseason preview and some NFC playoff stuff. So yeah, tune in for that. Alright guys, peace out. Go Hawks.